Here we go. Off to a good start. Matthias, hello. Doing okay, thank you. Doing okay. Betty, around. Hello, 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 hello. Gotta fix that bug today. And I know where it is. Good afternoon, hello. Let a few people roll in and then we'll start the madness. Quacko, hello. Marcel, hello. Got there first, nice. Gonna slowly chip away at all those channel points, stream by stream. You probably, I suspect, there's not a high enough level of attrition on those, and you're probably earning them faster than you are spending them. Moose, hello. I do need like a point sync, a Quacko only Twitch reward. It's like 1,000,000 points. I think you can do like community ones, can't you? Where like everyone has to donate to get to a certain like thing, like a milestone, like a set, like I'll wear a silly hat if we do it kind of thing. Okay, I think we're about a good start. It's going to take more than 5,000,000 points to fix my terrible code. Speaking of terrible code that I've written, let's dive into it. Okay, so very much like non-deterministic behavior we were observing. Sometimes it would render, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would render parts of it. Sometimes it would smear. So we kind of narrowed it down to the fact that this point of this color texture comes from the texture manager, I think. And this just pulls out either the single pointer to the texture or the array of texture or the vector of textures from our base vector of them, right? So we maintain a collection of textures, right? Text like or whole objects, right? Values, whatever you want to call them. And then we can basically say, hey, given an index into that, can I please have the pointer? Which is fine until you push something else into the vector and potentially cause reallocation and invalidate that effectively that pointer, right? You get a dangling pointer. So that was kind of the issue. Like this, there's no way to express in the language, or at least no easy way to say like, don't store this pointer, which is basically the issue. Like this pointer is absolutely fine until someone calls add, and there's no real easy way. Like you could probably construct some complex type which had, well, basic reference counting or something like that, right? But we don't want that. Like I just want to be able to get a pointer into it. So there's a couple of issues. There's a couple of things we can do here. So the first is if we actually look at frame buffer, okay, we store these, okay, but we never use them, and this is kind of a key observation and an absolute 100% oversight on my part. Like, store them here to at some point become invalidated, but the only place we use them, as in we never return them. Like, there's no getter for these. There's no way of kind of pulling these pointers back out, but they are used internally in width and height. When you say, hey, what's the width of your frame buffer? You're like, oh, I'll go to the first color texture, I'll get the width. And this is the issue, right? So, and this is really interesting. So this reifies itself here. So when we were blitting, we were basically using undefined behavior. So values of an unknown value, the width and height were undefined, right? So that's why sometimes it wouldn't render anything because it was probably blitting like a 0x0 box, or sometimes, and that's probably why you had the weird like shimmering, because sometimes it would be blitting like different things. So this is fundamentally the issue. So there's a couple of solutions to this. One is we probably should just cache this width and height anyway. It by definition cannot change, because when we construct the frame buffer with some number of color textures, we assert or expect that they all have the same dimensions. So that can't change. And the texture itself is immutable in the sense that you cannot resize a texture. You can only produce a new texture of a different size. So one kind of part of this fix is like, don't store them. If you don't persist them, then it doesn't matter. After the constructor is called, again, assuming a single-threaded application, like single-threaded execution, after the constructor is called, we don't persist them. So it doesn't really matter if that pointer becomes invalidated, because that pointer is gone. So we already want like a stud uint32t width and height. And frame buffer, then this becomes, so we don't have that, we don't have that. So this then just becomes effectively all the member variables, right? What was the order I put those in? Width, height, and then name. Okay, so let's do width, height, okay. No, so there is no game settings at the moment. Everything is hard coded. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for that yet. I can't remember what we did. Did we have the concept of game settings in the previous one? I think I kind of just dipped out and didn't bother doing it. So this technically also probably should be, I just realized, this checks the first one against itself, which is a little bit redundant, it's just like, it doesn't matter, it's a constructor or a frame buffer, but I think we could potentially make this maybe semantically clearer. We want to loop through all the color textures. We don't want to check the first one against itself. So I don't know if that's, ooh, gone. All the code gone. I don't know if that is semantically clear or not, but in my mind, that is better. So now we can just use all these, because all we do is just handing over the native handle, the integral handle into the OpenGL machine. And then this just becomes width and then height. So I think that should work for us. We haven't changed any of the interfaces, right? Just changed the implementation, the internal behavior. Oh yeah, good point. We need to actually store the width and height. So I think after we've done this, we should be able to do width equals color textures .width. Could do this in the constructor list, but I feel like there is a predicate. I mean, it makes no difference, right? Because this will fail the constructor, right? We'll throw or whatever. So this would just zero initialize them, and then we'll just pull the front ones out. So that should work. Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's the logical order of things, right? You initialize the things that you can given the information you have at that point, and then the rest you just have to do in the body of the constructor. That's, I don't know, maybe just the way I think about it. So this will work. Boom, nailed it. And then one. Hold shift and move around. Looking pretty good. Oh, bleh. Okay. Texture manage. I think I got some debug stuff in here somewhere. Is that 52? Nope. 62. Oh yeah, I was just dumping the stack trace to find out where texture was called from. Don't need that anymore. Yes, indeed. Okay, so that fix frame buffer UB. Now there's So the logging code, so I don't use GL get error or last error, whatever it is, because I use the OpenGL debug callback. So if you go to window, somewhere in here, you have this OpenGL debug callback, and then I could log it in here, but I just throw it because the machinery that we've got in place will catch this exception and log it. So this just means by doing this, the debug message callback, we don't have to call GL get last error, whatever it is, after each call. We just call the OpenGL function, and then the machinery internally does it for us. Keeping AC on his toes. So the moment the mesh is like the game doesn't really have the concept of static and dynamic at all yet. It just renders things. As we build out the functionality, we will want to divide things into static geometry, i.e. those that don't change during the game, and then dynamic, which will change, and then we can do certain optimizations based on that. I forgot to press my timestamp button. My stream deck just died. Literally just died. I'm out of luck now. What happens now? All my buttons have disappeared. It's literally just wiped my... Oh, no, okay, we're back. Whew. Okay, apologies. I'm a professional after all. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of all taken care of for us, which is quite nice. There's no concept of sort of static and dynamic meshes at the moment, but there are certain optimizations we can potentially do. Like if we like static geometry by its nature doesn't change, so we could create a static buffer, a static geometry command buffer that we just create once, and then we just render that every time. There's no need to kind of dynamically rebuild that or anything. I know, keeping everyone on their toes. So there's another. I think there's another potentially fix we can do. I was thinking about this. I posit that this collection of textures, okay, does not need to be contiguous in memory, but does need to be indexable, okay, which does open us up to use a different data structure, which will preserve, give you pointer stability or element stability, right? So I do think we can just make this into a deck, right? Double-ended queue, which it still has constant time index lookup, still has pushback, but does preserve, doesn't invalidate iterators and pointers when you push back. And I think this literally just works. I haven't tried it because elsewhere in the code, all we do is call pushback somewhere or append range, both part of deck, and then when we convert it into a vector, it's just a range, right? So, is it here? Oh, that's just indices. Yeah, textures, right? Well, sorry, here you go. It's still got the index operator, square bracket operator. So this will just work. So this will just prevent us from having that issue again in the future if we change an API and decide to preserve that pointer. I don't think it's going to be much optimizing. What I want to do is get on to doing better picking, right? So that kind of works. So the issue we got at the moment is if I pull out a bit, at the moment, this is a collection of submeshes. You can see here this model mesh, like I'm sure there's a semantic difference. This loads all these separate models. But semantically, well, it might not be a cache miss, right? Because if it depends on the implementation, right? But it'll still load it from like one of the buckets. So obviously, if the index goes over the sort of the end of the bucket, yeah, you'll incur a cache miss. But it's not indexing, getting the pointers to textures via an index. It is not, I don't think, on the hop path. It's just when you construct frame buffers. So it's absolutely, I think there's no realistic performance benefit. But it's a good point to consider, right? If that was in the hop loop doing that, then yes, that would have potentially a performance impact. Thank you very much. How kind of you. Okay, so these all, like, what I want is the concept of an entity and then like sub meshes. So at the moment, like with our picking code, if I click this, I get this. All right, if I pick this, I get this. And if I want to move this as one cohesive unit, this is a nightmare. So you could implement sort of like click and drag, but that I don't want to do that, not yet. What I want to do is about have this whole thing. It's semantically one entity, right? This exists or should exist as one entity within the scene, and I should be able to click anything in here, and it selects the whole thing, and then I can move it around. Because yeah, like trying to like rotate this around, and then like it's just never going to work. So that's the plan. So today we're going to go back to the classic AABB misery that we've had before. I need to alter this entity so it has a collection of models. And then what's going on? I've got rando pop up. And then that will construct an AABB around all its entities, and then something transformation matrix, we should be able to move it around and keep that. And I want to render it as well. So there will be a little bit of rendering code today because I want to add into the debug renderer the ability to render lines, which we've got from previous code. So I'm not too fussed about it. It's just a parent, right? Like it just needs like a parent-child thing. So let's have a look at what. So the entity. So at the moment, what we do is each of those sub things exists as its own individual entity within the scene. Okay, so scene has a collection of entities. So at the moment there is 9 entities in the scene. What there should be is one entity with 9 children. Okay, and they can all be views. That doesn't, again, entity should be quite lightweight. So the whole thing should have a name, and then everything should have that, and then it should all inherit the parent transform. I don't, at this point in time, yeah, it's an object hierarchy, but I want to keep it simple. Like the children should not have their own transformation matrix. They should just inherit from the parent, and they are placed relative to the parent on their own model space, right? So if you needed to move something to the right, you would have to shift all of the vertices to the right manually within the model data, rather than having like a complex hierarchy where like transforms multiply down. Because right now we don't need that. Right now what we need is a way of drawing a big box around everything and being able to click in that box and then iterate through the entities and then find the triangle that you've clicked on. I've absolutely no idea how to do this, but I think depth limit, so 1, I think. Like again, I want to keep it simple, like flat. An entity has like I'm pretty sure this is just become a vector, right? I think that's the easiest way of doing it, and then everything kind of works. Then like everything's rendered with the same material. This doesn't need to be complex at this point. There's no point adding complexity when it's not needed. I generally think like a good first pass of this, right, is steady. Right. Could even be sub mesh views. I don't know if I'd like that term, but like that's it, right? Like obviously that's changed the interface now and nothing will work. But we can just iterate on this now. Maps, hello. Obviously, if you wanted more complex stuff, you could make this entity and then just add as many as you wanted, and then each one, and then you could like apply the transformation down the hierarchy. But there's just no need for that. Like at the moment, I just need to render a bunch of stuff together. So let's start fixing the errors, because it's not gonna like this. Not at all. Oh, actually, have I still got a thing to commit? But my plan, such that is to get this wired up so that the scene sees one entity of multiple meshes, do some AABB calculations, render that, work out how to do it when the stuff moves around, because I've only really got code for axis aligned, but if you rotate it, it will no longer be axis aligned. So we need to do some stuff with inverse matrices to transform like the ray into the model space, the inverse model space, blah, 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 blah. I kind of got a rough idea of what I'm doing. And yeah, I think we're cool. And then once we've got that, I think it becomes quite easy to have a drop-down menu of all the different entity types, and then just start spawning them and then moving around. And then we basically have a level editor at that point. And at that point, we can actually have something we can kind of move around with, not necessarily interact with, but it'll start feeling a little bit more like a game rather than just a very bad OpenGL tech demo. Okay. So yeah, like lots of juicy errors today. Look at those. They just keep on trucking. Right. Let's go to main, because there's definitely gonna be some here, because at the moment we get the models. Okay. I can't remember what this returns. Is this model data? Right, yeah, that's it. So we get the model data, and then we load the models. So I think this becomes measure load mod. So the moment the current structure is wrong because we loop through each of the models and add those one by one. We now need to basically pre-process these. These should only be calculated once. So this was massively redundant anyway because we were. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically start pre-building some of this because I think. Yeah, this is massively. This is interesting because this. Oh, do they all need separate materials because they might all have separate textures? I hadn't considered that. Okay, so my ground plan has already hit its first bump in that. Each submesh will need its own material because they'll have different textures. That's fine. We can do around this. So I think we need something like submesh, right? So this then becomes mesh view, and this becomes stood UN32T material index. Okay, then we can slap that out there, get this, and just have submesh sub meshes. There would be an underscore there because there's a capital here, right? That actually makes it slightly easier because then we can just loop through that. We just have to produce these. Yes. So we can have auto entity equals entity. Okay. I think I can default initialize entity. I don't think there's anything stopping me doing that. The name is interesting. The name needs to persist out of the model loader, which we can fix in a minute. And I've been meaning to fix that for a while anyway. I mean, it's in C. I mean, you can put, if you want to emulate object-oriented hierarchy in C, then yeah, you can have like a parent pointer and you can put it wherever you want, right? I guess canonically it would be first because you're effectively potentially emulating a vtable at that point. So the question is, right, is C++ or C# better for programming stuff like this? And you'll have to define better, like it really, because there's so many different things like more performant, like easier to debug, like speed of delivery. There's a lot of better is like better in what sense? Like for me, better because I know I know a bit of C#, but I know C++ more better. Again, well, debug, optimization, threading. C# probably has much better debugging tools. I would say probably has equally as C# probably has a richer threading API. And optimization, I mean, if you get it right with the JIT, and you're not doing loads and loads of news, it could be comparable in some ways. And you get like thread pool as well and stuff like that. No worries. Okay, so name will be TBD, submeshes, and then transform. So I think the only one we probably let's do dot name equals. Let's just default initialize all these. I think I'm tempted to. Can we have a? Oh, right. Let me explain my thought process rather than starting 3 sentences and finishing absolutely none of them. A lot of the code I've done before, I've had to manually construct a transform because if you zero initialize the 3 components, you'll end up with a 0 scale and nothing will render. So I've obviously had this thought before because it does default initialize to a scale of 1. So in fact, I am okay with this. Okay, so now this just becomes entity.submeshes.pushback. Don't get a name. Do need the mesh view. Okay, I think it's just that. I think that's actually quite a small code change, which is quite nice. Demo soon. We'll see it in action soon. So I think that's. I probably actually need to then stick that in the scene, don't I? I'd rather. What did I use as the transform before was actually 0 initialize, so I think that can stay the same. Bit superfluous moving. Well, it's not superfluous because I don't need it after this, but I just lay that bear trap for me later. It's kind of nice. I need to change all these textures I will generate from the model name when I properly return it from the model loader. I just haven't done it yet. I want to get it working first. So let's see what's going to be broken next. The scene picking code ain't going to work for us. So when we produce the intersection result, we're going to need I think we're going to end up with a triple nested loop, which is exciting. Because I think what I want to do is for const auto submesh. Oh, actually, no, even better than that. We can do mesh view underscore in entity dot submeshes, right? And then this just becomes mesh view. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a way of collecting the disparate parts of the mesh, which are all kind of semantically and thematically linked to that individual entity. I'm good, thank you. I hope you are good too. Okay, so per each entity, per each submesh, go through the indices in chunks of 3. We've done this before. Bish bash bosh. Bookkeeping. I don't think the rendering code will understand the submeshes. Blah. Type traits, concepts, ranges, blah, 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 command buffer. That would make sense. So now we want to go through each scene. what's the ranges way of doing this? I now need to effectively, do I want to concat? I need to basically flatten down all the submeshes into an array of mesh views. So I'm going to go through each. I'm using direct draw, but no, I'm filling it all CPU side at the moment. I might do some compute shader stuff later to improve it, but for now it's all just CPU side, just to kind of get the mechanics working. I thought trying to do it all and add compute shaders at the same time was going to be a pain to debug. No, I don't. I just see template errors everywhere. Okay, so scene entities. I think I want to transform that. I'm just going to warn you now. There's going to be half an hour of me trying to figure out this ranger's code. Just like buckle up. Like stood transform E into return. I think I want a. I think I want to convert it to a span, right? Because I don't want to make a copy of it. I want to convert this. Can I do as? Can I just? Do I want those like stood views all E dot submeshes? I want to turn this entity, this range over the entities, into a range over the sub-view messages, but I don't want to copy them. Right, I want a view, I want a range over those, not the copy. So I could either turn this into a span, or I think I can I not just reference, can I not just effectively just like transmogrify that collection into a view? Is it stood views all? Returns a view that includes all elements of its range argument. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I want. There is no transform join unless that's in ranges v3. Because then I want to do something like, it might be a const issue, stood views concat, right? Join. Oh, thank you for the super chat. How very kind. Thank you very much. I'm sure I've done this before, where we flatten something out. I might have even been in scene. So I chunk them here. I am prepared to spend a lot of time trying to get this right. I think it has to have parens, because isn't this effectively a function that returns the object that you can call the pipe operator on? There is no transform join. There is no spoon. Can be one of those streams. What? Concat? I didn't save it. That's why. I'm sure join is what I want, because it's join with, right? What's join with view? That's what I want. I want join with view. Oh, has that not been implemented? Oh, I'm absolutely gutted. Join with view, a range adapter that represents view consisting of the sequence contained from flattening a view of ranges with every element of the delimiter inserted in between. Oh, do I need to give it a delimiter? Oh, that's not going to work for me. Great film. Oh, it'd just be join with, won't it? Join view. There's no. Stood views. Oh, maybe I don't need. Maybe I don't need the parens. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just stood views join. There we go. Apologies if someone said that and I blatantly disregarded what they said. Then I apologize. Still getting worse all the time. Yeah, so I think it now doesn't like what's in here. So I've got. Yeah, sorry, you're right, because one is the object and one is the function that produces the object. Okay, so then we flatten this, then we transform this into these. But what's the object only passing in here? This is now sub-mesh. So E at this point is now sub-mesh. So this should be E. Oh, E.mesh view .index count should work, right? Interesting. Now it doesn't like 70. Okay, we're on to a different bit of the code. Okay, fine. This is how you convert a single entity into the command. Why did I have this? This was an optimization thing, isn't it? So it's like if I wanted to get the command buffer for just rendering like a full screen quad, I wouldn't have to construct a whole scene because this interface only works on a scene. Hello. Vajoxy. I am wondering if this should just use this, but I guess this has extra side effects. It does write differently. Yeah, I think we just need to do this has to change now, right? Because this might return more than one command. One entity might now result in multiple things. So I think if we just yank this code, right? And then just this becomes entity dot submeshes, and then we can get rid of that and get rid of that. There we go. It's a little bit of duplicated code, but I think I can probably live with it. Nearly there. IO am I printing something somewhere? This feels printery. Renderer 196. Renderer 196. Yeah, streaming while programming is weird, right? Because these, obviously, I'm here to kind of engage and entertain and all those other good words, but you are largely just getting what I would be going through my head if I was just doing this by myself. Okay, so what does it not like here? So scene, entities, object data. This needs something similar, doesn't it? Oh, this is tricksy now because each. No, the issue is that my object data has a model matrix and a material index, but the model matrix is now technically it's a massive amount of duplicated data, which is kind of annoying, but I don't really know another way around it. Someone's redeemed explain something in the game. What would you like explained? You can get back to me on that one. Okay, so the issue here is that we upload per object data into a massive array onto the GPU, and then the GPU basically pulls that in. It's like, what material ID index do I need? Okay, and it has a model matrix per thing, but they all share the same model matrix. It's just a bit of a duplicated code because the top level parent, you only really need to store that matrix in the GPU once, right? Because all the children will inherit it or be rendered with it, not inherited. I don't mind duplicating it because we were doing it anyway, but I'm trying to think how I'm gonna formulate this. I might need a loop, which is really upsetting. Because there's no way of passing a sub-object of E into this transform. I think it's going to have to be. But then the thing can't be const. Oh, it's just the worst day ever. Unless can I zip my submeshes with the data? What if I mate, that worst day's still going on. Right, look at this. Yeah, I think right. Okay, fine. We'll just fine. Auto object data equals std vector. I just want everyone to know I'm not happy about this. For const auto entity in entities, okay. Oh, scene.entities. Okay, so we've got entity, and we're going to slap it, and we're going to go through this, and then we're basically going to say object data dot append range, and then from this I'm going to do entity dot submeshes std views transform steady once auto e something like this. Expected expression probably. And then now I have access to entity, so then I can do entity dot transform. Is that better? Is it worse? Is that, if I put a random extra scope in there, I have, haven't I? Okay. That's where it doesn't explode. I spent nearly an hour doing this. I've made absolutely very little progress. Render 1, 2, 3. Dot sub meshes equals, throw a few extra braces in there, mesh view dot material index equals 0 u. Nailed it. Yeah, it's true, yeah. Quick, nailed it. Quick refactor, mate. In and out. 20 minutes. That's gonna crash. I don't think I think material index is a size t, is a uint is a uint size 2t, so I don't need ZU because it's not a size t. Why did that crash? Cannot have an empty ID at the root of the window. If you need an empty label, use # and read the FAQ about how the ID stat works. UB or consistent? Let's play this game. Consistent. Bam. So this is somewhere in the debug renderer window ID. So that is where's that coming from? And I think, to be honest, I think the easiest thing to do is just slap this into a debugger and it'll just tell us exactly where the issue is. ChatGPT, fix all my terrible code. It probably does, yeah. Ah, is it because I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is because I'm not giving it a name. It's got an empty string. But let's just see this happening. Here we go. So if we walk up here to post render, yes, here we go. It's because the entity doesn't have a name. Nailed it. So this goes back to the utils. Not this utils. The other utils. Not this utils. The other utils. Here we go. Right. So there's also a slight memory leak in the async logging creation. I don't think I managed the statics correctly, but that's probably another day. So model data. This needs to return a name. Do we get a name out of this? We do, don't we? I was thinking tuple, or probably should be a struct, really, but you know, who's got the time? But and then you slap the mesh name. Is there like a top level mesh name? What's the log say? Like found mesh. Oh, it's just the same. So whatever's on 158. That's interesting. They all have the same mesh name, which is what I want. I'm just concerned that it could change from under my feet somewhere. Okay, fine. Let's. And a decision I will absolutely not regret later. And then we're going to do loaded meshes dot front dot mesh. What was it? When we went through loaded meshes, mesh, mesh dash mname dot cstra. M cstra something type deduction main up models name there we go. The old reference in there. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. So right. Got to update the header. Stupid C++. Stupid headers. Sorry, my big bold dome's over this, but just trust me that I've updated the signature. That'll work. And then we can go down, and then we can do, okay, fine. So now this becomes std format name. Nope. Albedo name. I am an advocate for it, but sometimes I forget. I am only human. Sometimes I forget. Std format normal name. And then now we're cooking with gas. Std format specular name. and then this becomes .name equals name. Well, let me just initialize the one and default initialize the rest? Question mark. Interesting question. Like, which is more active, Twitch or YouTube? Probably YouTube, because there is like 5 times as many people there. But the small amount of people on Twitch are very active. So, okay, so that works. Then we can go wee, and then we have this, right? So this is what I want to see. So ideally, this should probably expand so you could see all the sub meshes. I don't know what you do with them, but that's something we could add. I really want to just get this committed. Oh, there. I feel like this is all one miserable commit, really, because none of this is kind of like factor to use sub meshes. Okay, so that's done. Let's think about rendering lines. Oh. He appears on the other side. the game or the language? Nice. No, you won't be able to build it because of the assets, but you can play around with the code and you can run the built binary. Okay, so the next thing is in debug renderer, somewhere after all, probably before we render this here, we want something like, do I have like a if selected entity? Right, nailed it, mate. Completed it. But that's basically what I want to do. So if you have an entity selected and it is within the scene, then... Oh no, wait a minute. All entities. I think we don't handle lights properly at the moment, so this is just an entity. Yeah, so if you have an entity selected, then it should render the ABB, which means we need to have the ability to render debug lines. This is interesting, actually, because technically at this... So in the previous game, scene had a bunch of an optional set of debug lines, and if you put them in there, it would render them. We could keep that entirely within the debug renderer. It just means that nothing external in the previous game, we then used like the physics engine would then poke lines into that to make sure they got rendered. So I'm wondering what the best way is. Do we keep the debug information purely within the debug renderer, or do we pollute scene with this concept of debug lines, but give it other people the ability to dick around with it? I think I'm tempted to keep it here for now, and then maybe expose the debug renderer could return to you a line writer object that you could take hold of when we're constructing everything. So the physics engine could own like a debug writer or something if it made sense. So, and then that would just have some internal pointer to that thing which you could poke to. So I think, yeah, we'll keep it in this. So we're going to need quite a lot, actually. There's quite a lot to do. What's what's the best thing? I think we want to build out the line rendering tech first, and then it's just a case of just calculating lines. So let's just see if we can draw a line in 3D space. Pretty sure. I'm not sure if you're lying or not. Apparently there's a big spider somewhere. I mean, I don't really care. Spiders don't worry me. Exciting. I'll have to watch the replay later. If I suddenly collapse, then it's bitten me and it's poisonous. Okay. Yeah, I think so, yeah. He's got me. Someone wants to see the lightsaber, though. It is, of course, purple. Actually, I quite like this design, though. Oh. So, I really like these ones because all these parts are interchangeable. And if you, what's really cool, you got me going now. Also, because I can't really bother to think too hard about the next problem I've got to solve. If you take the switch out, then you can you see the kyber crystal, which is cool. And then you can, as I just have haven't have one here, if you replace them with different color ones, then you get different color blades, which is cool. Gotta. Yeah, well, the amount I spent on it is not really it's neither here nor there. I actually was probably splashed out as well, so I've got a whole bunch of other interchangeable parts as well, so I can mix it up as I go along. Anyway, nice little interlude. Okay, right. Let's try and render some lines. So we're going to need some line data. So where's the vertex data in graphics? E source. Is this where vertex data? So we want line data again because we're using vertex pulling. We can just slap in some data. Oh, are we going to use MDI for this, or are we just gonna like smash it out? Yeah, I got plenty of Saber parts to be playing with. I might just do. I don't think there's any point doing MDI for the lines. I just think it's easy probably just to slap it all in one big draw call. Minimal libraries. So there's been no libraries so far. All the window code, the event code, the graphics code, everything we've done. So the only library we've really used so far is Google Test and Asimp and STB, because I want to do as much from scratch as possible, but I kind of draw the line at passing file formats because it's a massive pain, and I don't think it's particularly like fun or educational to spend 3 weeks trying to write an FBX parser, so, or a ping decoder. So, and I'll probably use the physics engine as well because again, time. But other than that, trying to do as much from scratch as possible. Oh, and ImGUI, yes, okay, fine. Okay, so let's do struct line data. So this is going to have only a few graphics. Nope. Maths. So this is just going to have a vector3 position and a color. Okay, that's all it's going to have, right? And then we're just going to have do I need 2 of them? Or do I double up the line data? What did I do last time? because like this is just a point at the moment. I wonder if it needs to be like that. And then you can represent, no, because you want to chain them together, don't you? You want to be able to say, if I have 3 line datums, then that should draw 2 lines, right? So you just have to have a minimum of 2 points. But if I did start and end in each one, then I'd be duplicate. If they were chained together, I would be massively duplicating it. Do I care? Am I going to be doing that often? I'm just trying to think if I even need that, because when you do GL draw lines, or pass the draw lines thing in there, what's it expecting? Tokyo Spliff occasionally comes onto these streams, so if you hang around long enough, you might pop up and say hi. What did I do think I actually do think I want start and end. Thinking about it, because I'm just thinking, like, if I need to draw 2 disparate lines, which is quite common, then I'd have to have, like, how would I represent that if I was chaining them? So I don't want chaining. I do want start and end. Let's make that clearer. I would like to facilitate gradients. Like I think that'd be cool. So I think I'll do that. Is that gonna work? I'm really second guessing myself over something that's incredibly simple, and I've written before, and I could probably just look up. Okay, so I did just have position and color last time, and then debug lines was just a span of. Oh, look at all this misery. How did this work? I used GL draw arrays, GL lines. So what is that expecting? Sorry, this is. Yeah, I think I just give it a bunch of points and it draws the lines between them. But I can't remember if it works on adjacent pairs. Like, I can't remember what data this expects. Because you have GL line strip as well. Hang on, I must verify that I'm human. So I've got this, whatever this means. So first 2i minus 1, 2i. It doesn't really help because you've also got line loop and line strip. I think GL lines just interprets them as pairwise. I'm sure that's it. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. We've got some example code. Okay. So let's go back to what we had, right? This seems to be in my auto to string const line data element obj string return std format obj dot position obj dot color. Okay, fine. So I had a debug lines object. Do I want that for this? I don't think so, because I just need to upload that into a massive buffer. And then bind it to an SSBO and then draw it. So I think, oh, Jesus. Font's getting smaller all the time. Okay, so let's go debug renderer and do include vector, include graphics line data. Is that right font size? And do std vector line data debug lines. Okay, right, and then we'll go to the debug renderer and just make sure, obviously you don't technically need to do this, but because it's default initialized anyway, but I quite like to. Okay, so let's stick into debug lines, like straight up debug. Oh God, I cannot type today. Dot pushback dot color dot color equals 1.0f 0f. Right, and then pushback, I don't know, something like dot x equals 0.0f, dot y equals 0f, z equals 0.0f. And we'll make that. Okay. So I think that's, so whilst you jest, I have thought about the idea of having sort of fun interactive like Twitch perks and stuff like that, but I'm worried that it just will become distracting from kind of actually do the thing I'm trying to do. So I did think about, like, you know, I don't know, change the font or change my theme or something, but that just sounds like an absolute nightmare for me to work with, and I decided against it. What does it not like about this? So yeah, I thought about that, but my home, this is all tied into my home assistant, which is incredibly fragile, and I'm very scared to change any of the settings that are in it. I don't know why it doesn't like this when it likes this. So, oh, is it because you can't do aggregate initialization on this anymore? I think that's why. I think that was long gone. Yeah. Okay, so let's. So if we have here, we're going to need to. So we have access to the final rendered light pass, right? Oh, we've already. Oh, interesting. Actually, we're going to have to do it here, right? Because we still need to call post render to blit it to the back buffer, right? So we still have the ability to influence the light path buffer before it's blitted to the back buffer. I think this means we might need to duplicate this. I've undecided yet, but so here we're going to effectively want to do what are they called? What are the things I want? I need I don't need a command buffer. I don't think. But I will need a program, and I will need some sort of buffer for the data. I guess multi-buffer, persistent buffer, because I'll be writing to it a lot. So let's do multi-buffer, persistent buffer, debug line buffer. All right, so we'll write into that. That will then be our SSBO. We'll then need a program, which will be the debug line program. I think something like that. Okay. So I need to here. Let's get the renderer code up so I can just crib from this. Oh, this create program is going to be really useful, but it sits in the translation unit, in the wrong translation unit. I don't have access to it. Do I duplicate it? Grim. Problem for later. So I'm basically going to do... I don't want to clear anything. And I want to... I don't want to write to the G buffer. I want to do this after everything. After all the post-processing, everything is done. I want to write into the light pass buffer, but I will want to copy the depth buffer over to it. So I think I don't know, because I need the depth buffer from somewhere, right? Otherwise the lines will always be rendered on top of everything, and I don't want that. I still want the lines to exist within 3D space, otherwise it'll be an absolute nightmare. So I will have to write them into the I think what I want to do is, after all the light pass calculations are done, right, this will call this, which will go here. I think I make sure this is bound, and then I think what I do is I blit the G buffer depth over to the light pass depths, so that now has all the depth information, even though it's only a 2x2 quad, a simple quad. Then I render the lines into it. Then when I blit this over. I think. Nah, this is going to go wrong in so many ways. So I think if I don't think I even need it bound at this point, because I think I just specify G buffer RT dot depth attachment FB dot native handle, right? And then this is depth buffer bit. that right? I blit from the G buffer into the light buffer. So now the light pass has all the depth information it needs. I can then bind it, and then I can do debug lines program dot use, and then whatever I had over here. GL draw. Oh, and I need to copy over the information. So auto writer equals buffer writer. There's some code where I do this. Sorry, I'm very much just thinking out loud now. It might just be this, actually. Resize GPU buffer from the debug lines to the... So just check there's enough space in it, and then do debug lines buffer dot write stood as bytes stood span. I feel like I should be able to do some template deduction for this rather than having to do data inside. Oh, I could probably template this away, but hey ho. Stood span of debug lines dot data. Oh, fuck's sake. Data debug lines dot size. Close some of those. 0ZU. Close some of that. So make sure that the GPU buffer backing all the debug line stuff is big enough. Slap in all the data. GL bind buffer base. GL shader storage buffer. Index 0. Debug lines buffer dot native handle. Okay. So what this does is it copies the depth buffer from the G buffer back into the post light buffer one, even though it didn't need it before, but it does need it now. It resizes the GPU buffer if it needs to for how many debug lines we've got. It syncs all the GPU data, all the CPU data over to the GPU. It binds it to the SSBO slot 0, and then I think we can finally do GL draw arrays. GL lines 0 debug lines dot size. And then obviously I've got to use. So I've still got to construct. So I've still got to write the shader code and construct that program. I think that's all we need. And then we can start poking lines into it. I don't know. Feels right. Oh, actually, this is only if... This is actually wrong, isn't it? If I have a selected entity... then I should poke that data into there, right? So I should only be, this is a good test that it all integrates right, okay? If I have something selected, I should draw this big line up, right? And if it's not, then after this, I should do debug lines dot empty, okay? Nope. Clear. And this should only be if not debug lines dot empty, right? If we have some debug lines, we sure should render them. And we always clear at the end anyway. I suppose that could technically just be there. Okay. because this just clears the CPU side memory. The GPU side memory is fine. And then, I guess after this, we would need to do debug line buffer dot advance. Okay, fine. What does the shader code look like? That would be E assets line vert. So I still need to bind the camera data. Bleh. Fine. E assets shaders. I don't think you need to advance every frame if you're not writing into it, right? Because you're not going to trash something that's in use if you're not. You only advance it, so you make sure you don't write to something that the previous frame might be using, right? But if you're not writing to it, so I don't think you need to. What shaders have I got? So light past vert's probably a good starting point. Although that doesn't have camera data in it, so let's do assets shaders G buffer vert. Just 2 back buffers, but it's the was it the persistent buffer coherent bit thing? So it's just making sure we don't accidentally trash it or write to it as we're reading to it. Assets shaders line. What do I call it in this one? Just line, mate, just line. So line data will have a position, a color. Don't need any of that because we basically we don't need a model matrix because we will just supply everything already in world space. So there's no transformation that needs to be done, right? There's no transform matrix. We will literally just draw the lines directly into world space. That's what we did previously. Yeah, this is because of something OpenGL padding is miserable. So this will be lines, and we bound this to 0, so that's fine. CTD line data. We're going to want to keep the camera, and I'll just copy the paste code from somewhere else. Don't need object data, don't need material data. Get position, get color. Right, okay, so there's only going to be... We're only going to need to output the frag position and the color, right? Do I even need that, or do I write to... Oh, yeah. No, I have geoposition. So in fact, the only thing I need to outwrite then is the out color. Everything else stays the same. Ooh. We should optimize that at some point. That's on the optimization list. Okay, so geoposition equals view. Right, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Out. Do I still have... Is it still vertex ID? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, because I don't have multiple draw calls, so actually that's fine. So that becomes that. This all bugs off because we just don't have a matrix anymore, so that's fine. I think it's just that, mate. And VS asset shaders line dot frag. This is then going to be Do we need a type in out position? Ooh, we don't have out position because we use the magical pre-built GL position variable, which just kind of works, I think. E assets shaders. Light pass frag. Don't need textures. Still need this. Lines. Line data. Still need this, still need this. And then we have don't have any of that. Sorry, I'll get there in a minute. Out color. So in, we just have F4R3 in color, and then we have the out color, which is going to be the same, right? So I think all we have to do here is just do out color equals in color. So the only kind of sticking point now is this code. I think what I could probably do, as it's reasonably generic, is to make it effective protected helper. I'm not massively enamored with it. No, mate, no AI here. But I think that might work. And then, steady. Then this just becomes something down here. Just slap it down here. Yeah, so you use something maths, make vec 3 or vec 4 because then it works with all the matrices. You just slap one on the end if you need to. That's how maths works. Right, so this now becomes, oh, hang on, let's just, so this becomes debug line program. I think I'm missing another one. Don't I need to give the debug line buffer an initial size, the size of line data times 2 because I'm almost setting up 2 of them. Line data buffer. Nailed it. I can remember all the code I wrote. And now gbuffer becomes line. Oops. CFR line. Was it line or was it lines? It's line. Okay, ooh, steady. Okay, do you think this is going to work? There is no way that just built. There is no way. There we go. There we go. Out frag position in line vert. It's not wrong. He is not wrong. Ah, you saw it, did you? Okay. So allegedly now, if I select this, where's my line? Where's my line? Like it's it's grown the line buffer data. This is an absolute nightmare to track down, by the way. Just shit my office. Okay. Is this first question? Is this right? Do you is this how you blitz a depth buffer? Do you need geo nearest? Do you need something else? Do I need to enable it? Like this is suspect code. Okay. OpenGL blit depth buffer. That was one blitz depth buffer. It's supposed to render the line from the origin, like, up. Was it? Did this work? I thought I moved it out of the way and I didn't see it. Also, I've just realised, has anyone else realised that it now moves everything? Because they all share the same transformation matrix. Oh, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. By copying the transformation matrix into all the submeshes, this just works. Oh, absolute genius. So it should be around here, right? Because this renders at the origin. Oh, I'm so pleased. So pleased. That's great. I was thinking, oh, it's going to be so much faff to get all this to work. And it actually properly intersects all the triangles. Look, like I can click here and nothing happens, but as soon as I click on one of the triangles, I get it. Is that? Oh, that's made my life so much. It's so nice when things are easy. Oh, yes. I don't see a line here, by the way. Let me just. No, that won't work for me. I was gonna. There's so much that could be wrong with this. Let's look at GL rougher. That's what we're doing. So you can blitz the GL depth buffer bit. That this is valid. Is there any special caveats for depth? Right. Mask is the bit I don't know. The value of the attribution taken from the read buffer frame is limited to the intersection source buffer. Have I got a depth buffer? I assume my. Look at. Yeah, this. I think I always create. A depth buffer. I don't think I can not. Yeah, I always have a depth buffer. So there's no frost from culling, so we don't have to worry about that. If we go through the flow of it, this should render to the light pass, okay, and then which is already filled in and done all the light calculations from the deferred renderer, and then we call post render here, which will then blit the frame buffer to the back buffer. But this should, again, and just the color data, but that's fine because it should just be. I don't know if it's kind. I'm just trying to think if we. Okay, let's try this, right? Let's get rid of that. Okay, let's bind this, and then let's do GL clear. GL depth buffer bits. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. So let's just clear the depth buffer. Okay. So it doesn't. So it should just render that line over everything all the time. Okay, so it's not. Is that? Did I see it? Is that? No, it's not. It's something else. I could move this code to be done within the. Okay, fine. What happens if we let's try. Let's try rendering into the G buffer. Okay, because because we've already done the light buffer pass. Oh, so annoying. What's count of debug lines? So I just straight up write the data. Yeah, it's just the number of things in there, and then I write it in. We do this after the post step and render to. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's do that, and then render straight into that. We'll also clear the depth buffer again. I'm just not convinced it's drawing this. I just want to sit, mate. Oh, thank you very much. Very kind. Okay, so this should render 2, right? Oh. Oh, then when I select something, yeah, 2. Okay, fine. That's what I mean, I don't know Vulkan, so I can't really suggest on the best way to learn it. I mean, there's a couple of tutorials online, like getting started, but it's an awful lot of work. I think you got to ask yourself whether it's worth, like obviously there's the intellectual challenge, so if you want to learn, that's fine, but you will, I still think, like, you'll get a lot further with DirectX 11 or OpenGL. Where's the fun in that? Someone's already done the fun bit. Where is my line though? Because I am starting to get a bit grumpy. Oh god. Has anyone else seen it? Has anyone else seen it? Don't mind the bloody camera data, do I? It's got no idea where the camera is. All that maths is just thrown away. I am. My day is ruined. If the camera would already be updated, so I think I can just do this. This will work. Thank Christ for that. I thought I was going mad. Well, it's pretty far away. And then presumably that disappears if I deselect it. Okay, fine. So that makes sense. Okay, can we okay, fine. Actually, I want to revert to this now because, well, that does actually just work. I wonder if we should just, there's no need for any of this, right? Is there? We just post render that. We can have this back, right? After this we have to call post render, and then yeah, we just no need to blit depth buffers. We just clear the depth buffer of the back buffer and just draw the lines in. No, it will always draw over the top, won't it? We do need. Let's just have a quick look at that. I bet it always draws that line over the top. Yeah, okay, fine. So we do need to preserve that, this. I wonder if I just... wonder if I just blitz that into there. Just copy the depth buffer into the back buffer and just write directly to it. It's all debug code anyway. All right, that first hello triangle though is a battle, is hard fought and absolutely worth it. So you should feel pretty pleased with yourself. You got hello triangle working, because it is difficult and there's a lot of concepts to go over just to get a triangle. Boom, nailed it. Okay, pretty pleased with that. Let's not update Vim. Okay, add line shaders, add line data, render debug lines. Nice. Okay. Oh, good point. Yes. There's no point if the debug layer is not enabled. There's no point doing any other crap. Okay. Form and yes, Q. Okay. I might save the AAB stuff till Sunday, just because I've got quite a busy day tomorrow, and it will not be short. Like, I know there's going to be issues around it, because we're going to have to pass all the vertices. We're going to have to calculate a minimum. We're going to have to make sure it gets transformed correctly. It's a non-trivial amount of work that I'd rather just, now that we've got the infrastructure in place, like, that'd be the first thing we tackle. But I think after that, to be honest, actually, do we even? I still think we do need the ABB stuff, just for accelerating, because at the moment, when we cast array, we're testing against every single triangle in the entire scene, of which there's only one thing at the moment, so that's fine. But if we had loads of these, that was something we got getting quite expensive, and we need that before we can add the drop-down menu for adding new entities. Lazy Git. Do I do code reviews? I mean, feel free to DM me or email me, and if it's something that I'm always happy to help out people, right? Especially on C++, I'm always happy to answer C++ questions when I get the time. But feel free to join the Discord and ask, and you can always DM me or email me. Maybe I can make a video on it if it's like a meaty project. That's always something I'm kind of interested in doing. So maybe would be the question mark. My usual weasel words of I commit to nothing and promise even less. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That, I think we're in a pretty good place. I think so today. I mean, it doesn't feel like we did a lot today, but we fixed the miserable bug. We refactored the rendering to actually, the scene, how the scene's composed, to actually make it a lot easier to select stuff. And we drew a line. Like, big wins today. But in all seriousness, like, this is pretty much there. What I'm going to do is I want to merge all this in, because we've not merged any of this in ages. I want to do a build, get this merged, and start a new feature branch for next Sunday, which will be level editor. And I think we'll burn a few streams trying to build out a little level editor, because I think it'd be nice if we can have drop down, like, component, click, drag, build something out. We'll have to do a little bit of serialization to save it off, so we don't have to build it every time. And then I think being able to have and then we need to do something about like lights. I don't want to. We need some sort of box representation for this light, so I can click on this and select it rather than having to go here. Being able to add lights, I think actually it'll look pretty good when we can build out like a very basic level. Slap a skybox in there. I bought because this is like a space station asset pack, right? And I purchased a planet pack to have as like part of the skybox, because I thought it would be cool to have something in the background. I don't know what I was expecting, because the model is just a sphere. So what I really bought was some textures. I'm not even mad. Like, it obviously was what the model was going to be. Yes, exactly. I think once we have AABB, there's a lot more stuff we can start expanding out. I've changed my thought process on this project a little bit in the fact that I wasn't going to do any compute shaders at all. I was going to keep it pretty standard, keep it easy just to make some progress. But having thought about it, I really want a compute shader driven particle system. And from that, if I've done all the infrastructure for that, there's no reason to not do camera culling on the GPU and have that fill in the MDI buffer. And I've never done any of that before. That's brand new to me, all that stuff. And I kind of want to learn it. So I think at some point in the future, there'll be an optimizing stream where we do some more interesting stuff with that. So yeah, yes, this is the hot tub. I'm in a hot tub right now. Can you not tell? But yeah, I think we're near there. Like I think basic level editor, skybox, bit of scenery around, and then we can start expanding the. So after that, the renderer starts getting really interesting because we need to do tone mapping, we need to do bloom, we need to add emissive materials, we need to do a bunch of other stuff as well. So I think that'll start looking like we need to add back SSAO. We need to do anti-aliasing. I'm probably going to do I really want to do decals. I think doing decals is going to be really interesting. It's gone. I really want to shoot a wall and have a bullet hole with a normal map, just like painted into it. And some of that we can do. I think SSAO we might even be able to do with a compute shader. I think that might be fun to do. So I think it's a whole load of stuff. The render's still got quite a bit of way to go. And then after that, I think it's kind of up for debate what we do next. I do want to make this multi-threaded, and the longer I leave it, the harder it's going to be to integrate. So I will need to add some sort of job scheduler at some point. And then after that, let's big on myself, you can get the full bags experience. Then after that, we're going to have physics. I think I want to do the scheduler before I add physics because I want to get those integrated quite nicely. And then we've got to do skinning. But I think there's audio. There's going to be quite big chunks, which I think are slowly going to start bringing the game to life quite quickly. I think we're in the kind of tech demo phase where it's that drawing a line is like the best thing we could possibly do at this point. But I think that'll slowly expand. I have zero interest in writing an OS. Sorry, that's a lie. I think it's an interesting project. I think it's massive, and it's just not something I'm interested in doing live. I'd much rather faff around with graphics. So I got free gifts. Hang on. It's interesting they are different shades of purple, but I think the top one might be running out of battery. It's definitely not as bright. I don't have any running a compiler again. It's just a lot of work, and I'd much rather do something graphical live because one, it's something I'm interested in. Two, I think it's more interactive. Yeah, the color difference does kind of match that a little bit, so it's quite nice. You can get an adapter which allows you to connect them both together, so there's that. Yeah, it's all themed. I just picked a hex color purple one and just went that, but everywhere. Or pink, sorry. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think if I was really into making I think I'd have to have a real vision in my head for a language that I want to make with specific features to make a compiler. I think just making which our resident compiler dev has done, and I know he's very opinionated and on that, and I think that's great. I just don't think I have a big enough opinion on what I want a language to be, if that makes sense, to warrant spending the time compiling it. Hang on, sorry. Okay. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to be here. Thank you very much for coming along. And what's the day? We're on Wednesday, Sunday. We'll do some more rendering, and it'll be fun. We'll have a grand old time. See you all anon.